Have you ever told anyone that they were good at doing something and they were not? They were not that good or not so good. Maybe even they were terrible at doing that particular thing, but you told them that they were good anyway. Why did you do this? Okay? I want you to tell me that I'm not that good. If I'm not that good at whatever it may be. You know why? When you tell someone the honest truth, whether they receive it well or not, what you're doing is helping them to see where they can better themselves. At least that's the way it should be. Just because a person may not receive the truth well, even though your intentions are well intentioned, that's their problem. That's a growth issue. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people don't want to show you who they really are. Even when shown who you really are can benefit you. So, let's say, for example, you were cutting grass for someone and you were not really good at it, and the person who had you cut the grass for them pointed out some flaws, and you get upset, maybe even angry at them because they pointed out the flaws. And even though you may be the property owner, you know how the grass is supposed to be cut and you can actually do it properly yourself, but you just wanted to help someone and pay them a few dollars to cut your grass because maybe you were busy doing something else or had other things to do. But once you give this person this opportunity and you just cordially, with kindness, with consideration, approach them and say, well, this is how you do this, and I would rather have this way, and next time if you do this way, then that person gets puffed up at you. Why? That's a character flaw. It really is. And it shows, especially if you're talking about an older person, that's something that they had an issue with when they were really young. And it just carried on into their older life. Yes, character is everything. It is so integral in our world. So it's the difference in a person living as peaceable of a life as possible and as non-incidental a life as possible and non as dramatic / traumatic a life as possible when you have character. Because character, we are in a world today where people are so much in denial of who they really are, and we encapsulate ourselves from the world as far as our weaknesses. I understand on some level that there are some things that are private to you or should be, but other things you need to learn how to let go, and that's your pride, that's your ego. And if you are to become better as a human being, if you don't do that, you're going to end up imploding one day. Again, if I have a fault and I'm doing a job for someone in any capacity, I want them to point it out, because that's going to make me a better person. It's going to help me do the job better. It's going to even teach me the job if I don't know the job that well. Now, being a martial artist, I'm going to add this in here again too. If let's say I'm doing a technique and someone is teaching me something, and I do it incorrectly and they correct me, and I get puffed up. You can tell it in people's body language that they don't like to be corrected. Man, this is so bad. I see this so often. And in my own personal life, in my own martial arts class, I have a student or two that when you, even with kid gloves and the most kindest most subtle approach, point out a fault, you could tell that there's something looming on the inside of that individual where they have self-esteem issues. And so you see anger come out when you're pointing something out. You say, no, not that way. This is the... And then they build this wall up. They're angry because you pointed out a fault. So would you, the person that I'm speaking to, a child, teenager, an older person, would you rather me lie to you and have you crash and burn at some point in your life, or would you rather me, in as an articulate way as I possibly can, point out something to you that you need to improve on, or you're just going to simply get upset with me and not even want to participate at all? Not just martial arts, I'm saying anything. So are you this type of person? If someone corrects you, are you okay with that? Do you say, well, okay, I see. I appreciate you showing me that, pointing that out to me, and I'll work on this and I'll work on that. Are you that person? Or if they correct you behind their back, you're saying, he's saying that I'm not doing this right. Who the heck he think he is, and how much authority does he have over this particular thing? I'll give you an example. I watch an appraiser come in on a pawn show on the internet. Pawn Stars is the name of the show. And the guy comes in there with something that he wants the people who are the pawn brokers and or dealers to evaluate for him, as far as how much it costs and how old it is and so on and so forth. So the guy said, well, I'm not that much of an expert in this particular area. I can tell you what I believe right now, but I'm going to call in an expert. So he calls in the expert. The expert comes in and he tells him what he believes the estimated value of the item is. And the guy who came there to have the item assessed, the customer that came there to have the item assessed for its value, the pawn guy told him what he thought it was worth, and then he called in an expert behind him, and the expert told him, who does this for a living. The customer says, well, I don't believe it's worth that. I believe it's you're underbidding. That is extremely much more valuable than what you're saying. So he discounted what the expert said. So in his speech to the camera person after the deal was done or not done, he's not giving any credibility to the expert at all. So again, this is my point. We don't know everything. Okay, no one person is a mountain all to themselves. So when someone comes around you that knows more than you know, you need to get off of your ego. Get off of your ego and let the person that knows show you the proper way. If someone is teaching you how to build a brick wall and you've never built a brick wall before, and you start not leveling the wall off the way it's supposed to be, measuring it correctly, and the wall begins to tilt or slant, and they correct you, you're not a mason. You don't know the job. This person knows the job, and they're teaching you this. So when they correct you, don't get upset because they correct you. If anything, you're learning how to build a wall, and something that you can perhaps put under your belt as a trade that you even know in the future, if you ever had to do that for yourself or someone else. Stop trying to know everything and learn to accept critical responses from people. When people are being brutally honest with you in a very polite and courteous way. Criticism, I don't have a problem with that. Now, mind you, I was young at one time, much younger, and when a person would correct me, I feel a little uncomfortable at first, but my mom was always correcting my brother and I coming up. Didn't have a problem with that. So I took it on the cheek. All right, is this how you do it? Okay. And sometimes when we get much older, we get set, as people say, in their ways. You get set in your ways. You don't want to listen to anybody because you think you know virtually everything, and you really don't. It's hard for older people to accept correction. It really is, because you think that I'm old and nobody can tell me. I'm a man like he is a man, and he puts his pants on just like I put my pants on. Come on now. Seriously, you have to learn how to humble yourself. So, again, as in the title of this video, if I'm not doing something correct, I want you to correct me. I want you to tell me that I'm not that good at whatever it is that I'm doing. Tell me that I'm not doing it right so that I can do it the correct way or do it better. It's really, really that simple. Now, are you so caught up in your own ego that you can't accept criticism? Or are you the type of person to say, well, I'm glad you showed me that. Now that's going to make me do it better next time. I got my fruit flies kind of hitting me over here because I have my coffee and apple cider vinegar sitting on this table. But anyway, what type of person are you? Can you be corrected without trying to correct the person that's correcting you? That was it, and that was all.